What work is being done to appeal to private investors to invest in New Zealand for tourism development?
Yeah, so the first thing is all foreign investment in New Zealand over a certain amount is governed by the Overseas Investment Act, which is an act of our Parliament, and there's an Overseas Investment Office that has a look at that, the criteria of that investment, so an application can be made. For Australia, the rules are much more lenient than any other place. So Australian investors largely have an easier ride in investing in New Zealand because of our closer economic relations, our CER protocol. So we're more than happy for Australian investment to come into New Zealand into infrastructure assets. They would be welcome to be over here, and we're happy to work alongside them. And in a number of the public-private partnerships we can see being established, Australians are playing a role in that. So I don't think there'll be any issue about them coming in and building a hotel or building a particular tourist attraction. And it's actually true internationally as well. I mean, a number of the people we met in China when we were there about 10 days ago were on the investor side, and they're quite interested in investing in New Zealand. They'll have to go through a process slightly different for countries outside of Australia, but I'm very confident they'll get through. It's a pretty liberal, transparent regime.
Grant Bradley from the New Zealand Herald over here.
Sorry, Grant. Sorry, I lost you. I'm sorry.
Yes. You're spending a lot more on marketing New Zealand. Shortly before that announcement, there was cuts to DOC funding.
Yeah.
Are you confident that these cutbacks to DOC won't affect visitor experiences of these DOC estates, and also a supplementary question? Your political opponents often have criticised you in the past for taking your family holiday in Hawaii.
Right.
Over summer. Are you going to rethink that, or you've seen what New Zealand's got to offer?
Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is in terms of DOC. DOC has been going through a series of restructuring exercises, as pretty much all government departments and ministries have. The latest round of changes, as the chief executive or the director made clear, was not about money. In fact, they would have made the changes irrelevant of how much money they had. It was about a change in the structure of what they wanted, and that was less middle management and fundamentally more being spent on rangers and people out in the field. So I am confident that we can accommodate people that come and use the DOC estate. We are looking to build the number of rangers. So I think in terms of the visitor experience that someone gets on the ground, there will be more people that they physically see as rangers. I think what is true is there'll be less middle management, but that's a deliberate exercise we're going on. In terms of will I change my view of going away at Christmas to Hawaii, the answer is no. That's not because I don't think New Zealand's the best country in the world, and it's not because I don't love New Zealand, but actually, my political opponents have amnesia because their Prime Minister spent 9 years spending every Christmas overseas, last time I remember. She didn't quite tell people where she was going. I at least had the decency to say where I'm going. But the reason I go isn't because I don't love New Zealand or I don't want to go to my beach house that's up the road. The reason I go is because if I truly want to have a couple of weeks where it's just me and the family, given the other sort of 50 weeks of the year, it's 7 days a week, 60 odd days a year, I can't do that in New Zealand because you can't switch off being Prime Minister. If I walk down the road with the kids and 50 people want to take a photo of me, which they do, then that doesn't turn into a nice kind of cup of tea with the kids and a scone. It turns into a political exercise, and it would be very unfair on me to say to those people, well, I'm not going to take a photo with you because I'm on my Christmas holiday, because it would look rude, and I would just never do that. I'd always do it, and so there would be no family holiday for the kids, and I expect them and ask them to make huge sacrifices. So, if their Prime Minister hadn't spent 9 years going overseas, I'd say fair enough, but maybe they should go and check the record book.
Thanks, Prime Minister. And just to round off this session, we've had a fantastic week in Auckland. It's ATED Auckland has done a wonderful job hosting us.
Yep.
This venue has been terrific, a great legacy from Rugby World Cup. What I'd like you to do now is to invite you to announce where Trends 2014 will be held.
Yeah, so Trends 2014 is going to be held back here, so we're coming back to AT. So Len will be happy, and we're all happy. And look, it's a great place. I mean, we've had a little bit of rain, as you probably saw in the last, or when Len was speaking last half an hour, but actually, if you come from overseas, we're actually suffering from a drought, believe it or not. So funnily enough, the rest of the country is probably rejoicing that there's a bit of rain, but yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful part of New Zealand, and the waterfront's tremendously developing down here. And hopefully you're finding Auckland, a very multicultural, vibrant sort of city to be in. There's a lot of things to do here, and it's a great part of the world. And obviously in the rest of New Zealand has a unique set of offerings as well. And there's great beauty and great things to see. And lastly, we're a very friendly country. I saw some survey recently saying that we're one of the friendliest places on the planet, and I think that's absolutely true. I think most people that come to New Zealand come away and have a great experience, a wonderful holiday. They enjoy their time here and they have lots of memories. So we hope you'll have the same experience. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thanks, Raj.
Oh. Thanks, everybody. That wraps up the media program for this morning, and for Trends 2013, I guess. If I could ask you to make your way downstairs now, this area is going to be used for a private function through morning tea time, so we need to make way for that. Thanks.